5 weeks ago, I stood in front of my friends and my colleagues at Vital Smarts in our employee all-hands meeting, and I shared what we call a mission moment. A mission moment is an inspiring and heartfelt story about the impact that our ideas and our work are having in the world. It's a great moment. It's a time where we feel inspired and proud and humbled and grateful and energized to be a part of Vital Smarts. But I realized as I was standing there sharing this story that I felt none of those things. That day instead, I felt very, very small and inadequate and ashamed and altogether just less. Because deep down inside, I was fighting this fear. I was fighting this fear that I didn't deserve to stand up there, that I didn't measure up. I didn't measure up to the power of the skills that I write about and teach about and speak about. So today I want to share with you a little bit about this fight that I have been waging with myself about whether I do deserve to stand up here or anywhere and teach anyone anything, while feeling like my own life has fallen so far short. Because you see, in the last 18 months of waging this fight, I have learned something real and deep and profound about crucial conversation skills that I somehow missed in the previous 10 years of writing about and speaking about and developing the training. And here's what I've learned about crucial conversation skills. They don't always work. At least, they don't work the way you think they're supposed to or the way you might want them to. But the other thing I have learned profoundly is that in those moments when the skills don't work the way you think they should and when life is falling down around you, the thing you need to get through those moments is the skills. So today I offer you 2 crucial skills of resilience. The first is this: it's that work on me first does not mean or even imply work on the other person second. It means, it's a hard one to learn. It means work on me first, then work on me second, then work on me some more. We work on ourselves first, not just because we should start with ourselves before we get to move on to the other person, but because we are the only person we can work on, the only person we can change. Here's how I learned this. It starts 8 years ago in the summer of 2008. I got married to Clayton and his 4 wonderful and oh so wonderfully adolescent children. As some of you out there know firsthand, blended families are not for sissies, right? But I was determined that in this, the most important of all relationships, I would not fail. I threw myself into my marriage and my family with hope and exuberance and so much love. I went to every band concert and swim meet and musical production. I did homework assignments and Eagle Scout projects, right? And I stepped up to crucial conversations, lots of them. And then earlier this year, after years of working and struggling and trying and talking and crying and praying, it all came to an end. I filed for divorce. See, this is not what we actually mean when we talk about a mission moment at Vital Smarts. Not very many employees are motivated and inspired by stories like this, stories like mine. But I think that they should be. Because what I have learned is that the grace of what we teach only becomes apparent when we falter. As Clayton and I struggled valiantly to dialogue through our divorce, to come to an agreement without courts or mediation or judges, to just, hash it all out on our own, I realized that focusing on what I really wanted for me, for him, for our relationship, for our family, just like we teach in the training, was not going to be enough. Because the reality was, what I really wanted wasn't going to happen. The hopes and the dreams that I had for marriage and family were not at all connected to the reality of my marriage and my husband. The vision I had of how I would parent my 7 children, those 4 fabulous older kids and the 3 precious little ones that had followed, was not going to happen. The focus then shifted from what do I really want to what do I really want to be. I decided early on in my divorce process that I wanted to show up well. I wanted to be able to look back at this time of incredible heartache and stress and vulnerability and say I had shown up as the very best version of myself. I decided that my mantra would be generous, kind, brave, and strong. That is what I wanted to be for myself and for my 7 children. I felt and confronted a deep sense of personal and spiritual failure, which I am sure that many who divorce and some of you have felt. For me, this sense of failure was given this nice glossy sheen of hypocrisy because I have spent 10 years telling people that crucial conversations can improve your results and your relationships. It was incredibly painful to think back to presentations in which I had literally stood and said, crucial conversations can help save your marriage, and to know that it hadn't saved mine. But I also knew that a generous, kind, brave, strong woman would not run from the shame of hypocrisy and failure. A generous, kind, brave, strong woman would embrace and experience that vulnerability, knowing that it is okay to say that crucial conversations didn't save my marriage. It saved my divorce. Clayton and I, we were able to come to an agreement without courts and without mediations and without judges. I brought my very best self and my very best skills to our conversations, and it worked. The second idea I want to share with you today is about mutuality, and it's about this idea that mutuality isn't all about the other person. Now, I realize that this might not seem like a very big insight to any of you out there who know what the actual definition of the word mutual is, right? I got it. But I guess I'm a little bit slow, right? Because for me, this was a really big insight. You see, when I teach mutual purpose and mutual respect in the course, I spend a lot of time talking about how you have to understand the other person's purpose and how you have to demonstrate respect for the other person. In fact, sometimes I'll use this slide in presentations where I actually define mutual purpose as, you know that I care about your goals, and mutual respect is, you know that I care about you as a person. But do you see how one-sided these definitions are? And I don't mean just one-sided in that there's nothing there about you caring about my goals or you caring about me as a person. The more important part of mutuality that is missing for me in this is that I care about my goals and that I care about me as a person. This is what I've discovered about mutuality over the last 18 months, that in the most successful relationships I have, I carry mutuality within me. I balance care for the other person's goals with care for myself. I balance respect for the other person with respect for myself. This is ultimately just about drawing and establishing and maintaining boundaries that allow us to have healthy and productive relationships. Here's an example of this with my dad and my twins. I mean, cute, right? So in May of 2015, my dad took a bad fall. He fell and he broke his distal femur, the long bone in your leg. He had to have surgery to repair it, and this fall and subsequent surgery started a downward spiral that led to his death last November. This was hard for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was that he was only 71 at the time that he died. As I think about those months from fall and surgery to death, and I think about all the hospitalizations and the infections, the complications and the medications, and I think about all those things that led to that ultimate diagnosis of congestive heart failure from which he died, the truth of that for me is just a little bit different. The truth of it, for me at least, is that my dad died because for more than 30 years, for more than 3/4 of my life, My dad was what medicine calls morbidly obese, weighing upwards of 400 and at times more than 500 pounds. He was also a genuinely sweet person with really good intentions who was profoundly depressed, sometimes suicidal, and the most deeply dishonest person I have ever known. It's kind of a mixed bag with him. Not surprisingly, because of his weight, he had a lot of mobility issues. And a year ago, May, and this is self-described, sort of launched himself into bed one night, he fell. And he was able to scoot his huge body over to where his cell phone was and call 911. He then scooted his huge body over to the door of his condominium so he could reach up and unlock the deadbolt. The paramedics arrived and they helped him stand up, something he could not do for himself. An hour later, the entire scenario repeated itself, this time with a word of warning from the paramedics. If you call us again, we're going to take you with us. He was able to get into bed and slept through the night, and the next morning, after a quick trip to the bathroom, he once again sort of launched himself into bed. But this time as he fell with his legs sort of wedged underneath him. And as he tried to scoot and get to his cell phone, the weight of his body twisted his leg and broke his femur, the largest and strongest bone in your body. This time, when the paramedics came, they had to drill through the deadbolt to get into him, and they did take him to the hospital. I didn't know about any of this until hours and hours later, because by then my dad's cell phone was dead, and he couldn't remember any of our phone numbers. The hospital staff had eventually gone through the medical records and found me listed as his emergency medical contact. Now, as I said, this was hard. This was hard for a lot of reasons. I was 6 months pregnant with the twins at the time. I had an 18-month-old at home. I was working full-time. And as you just heard, I was navigating the disintegration of my marriage. And while my dad had managed to alienate himself from almost every other relationship in his life, we had somehow managed to hang in there together. And in 2007, when Influencer was published, I just knew these were the skills that I needed to help my dad change, to help my dad lose weight and get healthy. I remember sitting in that first Influencer course and thinking, this is it. This is why I've been led to Vital Smarts. These skills, this model of change, this is why God has led me to Vital Smarts, so I can help my dad. And last November, I did help him. I helped him take his last breath and transition out of this life, weighing in at close to 400 pounds. And you know what? I was at peace. My dad's death, it wasn't my failure. And although this took me a while to understand, it was not a failure of influence. One of the most important capacities we possess is the ability to change behavior, our own and others. My dad's behavior did not change despite my influence. And in 2007 and 2008 and 2009, that was really, really hard for me. But somewhere along the line, the thing that did change was our relationship. Because somewhere along the line, I figured it out. I figured out that mutual purpose wasn't just about me caring about his goals with him, and it certainly wasn't about me caring about his goals for him. Mutual respect wasn't about me caring about him as a person while he repeatedly lied to me and let me down. Mutuality was about me caring about him and me. Mutuality was about me respecting him and me. Understanding this, I was able to draw the boundaries that let us have a good relationship. I was able to refuse the fool's choice and say, there is a way that I can have a positive relationship with him that doesn't harm me. And that's what we had. That's what we had in the last years of his life. And I was blessed to spend the last 24 hours of his life with him in a room that was filled with peace and love. The skills that I teach, the skills that all of us teach, they are powerful. And they drive positive, lasting, profound change in our lives and in the lives of those we love and teach. But they do not create a perfect life. They do not create perfection. There is no magic wand or silver bullet. And while crucial skills may not give us a perfect life, they can give us the strength, the resiliency we need to build a beautiful life. Crucial skills haven't given me a perfect life, but they have. They have given me a beautiful and resilient life. And for me, right now, this is what a resilient life looks like. It looks like getting out and taking my children and introducing them to the joys of the natural world. It's moving into a new space and thinking about how I am going to create a home of peace and joy and laughter and growth. It's making sugar cookies and taking pony rides and painting, right? It's making new friends who are also doing the hard work of changing their lives. This is me and my 3 little ones with some of the students from the other side of Academy who you met yesterday. We love spending time up there with them. A beautiful, resilient life is Saturday mornings in bed and falling asleep during lunch. A beautiful, resilient life is standing with your son, who, despite the fact that you divorced his dad, is still your son, and watching as he graduates from college. It's taking your babies to see your father's grave and drinking up the sunshine. And it's getting on a plane with your ex-husband and your 3 little kids to go to your oldest son's wedding. A beautiful, resilient life is standing with your family and being happy, really, truly, deeply happy as you celebrate a new marriage, even while yours is ending. Because this is my family, and I have done the hard and joyous work of building this family, one crucial conversation at a time. And that's my mission moment. Thank you.